Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with our very first Today in Sports Betting NASCAR edition. Well, our first of the season. It's Scott and I taking a look at the Daytona 500. Scott, it is the Super Bowl of NASCAR racing. What do you think about having the Super Bowl the first game?
I'm not really complaining about it. I feel like since NASCAR is a sport or a league that most people, I'd say, don't follow as much as they used to, I think having the Super Bowl first might make some sense because you kind of start off with a bang. I
Right,
can barely name any other Indy car race that's not the Indy 500. So it seems like that's just a racing thing just internationally as well, where the biggest race seems to be first.
right.
In the words of Ricky Bobby, if you win first or last. So I guess they decided to apply that to races as well.
Very good. And it should be a fun race, Scott. So let's dive right in. If you listened to us earlier with the NASCAR last year, we were our format is we pick two favorites and one long shot. We define a long shot is kind of 18-1 or bigger. I've got a lot of long shots. I might break that and take two long shots.
And then we also throw in some props in addition to that.
Yeah, and I don't have a ton of props for this one.
DraftKings had a bunch.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't really dig them.
My main two books for props are usually Fox Bet and DraftKings, mostly the DraftKings though. Fox Bet didn't really have anything up yet. DraftKings did. So DraftKings was kind of my main hub for props for this race.
All right, very good. Yeah, and you can definitely find props around different spots and things like that.
Oh, by the way, I know that most people probably won't care, but I actually ended up finding the actual stats that I had from last year in NASCAR. I found out I finished the year up over 19 units. So pretty solid NASCAR year. Hopefully that carries over into 2021.
Not bad at all, my friend. Not too.
I thought it was around 17. It turns out it was 19.21.
I'm sure that's fine.
Yep. I'm not complaining about it.
Why can't I find? I'm trying to find the
What?
the order. I was looking. The last thing I had up on the NASCAR site was the dual results, and they don't make it easy.
I have the starting grid. I found it on ESPN.
Well, it was on NASCAR, but it was. Let's see if they've got it figured out here.
It says that Bowman's on the pole, correct?
I think that's right. All right, let me get that up, and you know what? While I do that, I'll let you kick off with your first pick, buddy. Who do you like? Who do you got?
Well, for the first one, I think we're probably going to agree on this one. I know you said you might like two long shots, but I think the favorite might be the same between us. It's going to be Hamlin. I feel like that kind of it's pretty straightforward if you want to look at his results so far at this actual track. Looking at the starting position, Hamlin is starting 25th, which is not exactly ideal. However, we have talked before, particularly at Daytona, some of these speedways, how starting position doesn't mean as much on these type of tracks as it does on some other tracks. But looking at Hamlin's numbers, they kind of speak for themselves. He's won this race each of the last two seasons. He has an average finish of 12.61, which is one of the best on the entire circuit, or whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, Hamlin, you can find it 8-1 on Fox Bet. I think it's the same price as well on DraftKings. But either way, I'll use Fox Bet for this one. But Hamlin, simply put, there's really not many better drivers you're going to find on this track. Usually you're used to seeing Kevin Harvick as the guy who dominates the track and has all these top 5 finishes and all these wins. And, well, it seems like it's Hamlin's turn because Hamlin is the guy who is the Daytona expert. And for that reason, I have to take him, especially at 8-1. I think it's a very good price. I think it should be closer to around 5-1.
Does it bother you that nobody's ever won 3 straight? It's keeping the price down.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure people said that last year when people were afraid of a back-to-back winner, and then Hamlin pretty much coasted the entire way.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's won the last 2. He's won 3 of the last 5. You can't ignore him. You know, you
at 8-1, you can't. I mean, if you're talking mid-season prices, those were Harvick numbers last year, where his price was around 4-1 or like 5-1. They're giving you 8-1. I can't say no to 8-1 on a 3-time winner in 5 years.
Yeah, you really can't, man. It's impossible to do. So
I'm assuming
yeah, as much as I hate going with the with the crowd, I got to do it. So
I knew we were both going to have Hamlin. He's just too good to ignore if you look at his stats.
yeah, yep, very good. So that's going to be that'll be my first pick as well. So now we're back to you, bud.
I was actually going to let you go this time. We can alternate.
All right, trying to find the grid here.
If you name the racer, I'll tell you where they are.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to give you my second one here, and first I'll tell you a couple that I don't like. I don't like Logano. He had some success at super speedways early in his career.
He was terrible,
but he finished 26th, 27th in the two races there last year. I'm not backing Logano in this one, and I don't like Chase Elliott. He's not a good restrictor plate racer. He's only finished better than 14th one time in the last 10 races, his last 10 starts. So he's finished 30th or worse in 5 of his last 10. He's save your money is what I'm saying here.
Well, I want to ask you something. Sorry to interrupt, but when I was going through the numbers here, some people might know this, some people might not if they're not familiar with NASCAR. The Daytona 500, the racetrack is not only used for Daytona. You also have a couple of other races, mostly the Coca-Cola 400 or the Coke Zero 400 or the Pep, whatever the name is at this point. How much do you factor in the other races on the same track when it comes to trying to gauge how well somebody is going to do in this particular race? Because it seems like a lot of drivers have some success in the Daytona and maybe aren't good in the Coca-Cola 400 or vice versa. So do you have any – at least that's what I noticed when I was going through the numbers. So do you include Coca-Cola results there, or do you only look at Daytona?
No, I absolutely look at the Coca-Cola results. You're going to have – it's going to be a little bit of different track conditions. I believe they run that in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Usually July or August.
It's July. It's a night race there. So obviously it's going to be a different situation weather-wise than it is going to be the third or fourth week of February. Although I think Daytona is a little early this year, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a week early. But
give or take.
Yeah, but but what overrides that is the fact that it's a restrictor plate race, and you've only got 4 of them. You've got the 2 at Daytona, you've got the 2 at Talladega, and there's a few teams that just set up their cars to run restrictor plate races. They know it's easier to compete in those than it is to compete for an entire season. So they like to make a splash and see if they can pull off the unlikely victory a la Derek Cope kind of situation there where they pick up their only win at Daytona. So, yeah, long answer to short question. Yeah, I would factor those in as well. That's I think it's okay to lump those all together.
Okay, that's why I was asking. Anyway, yep. So you were talking about who you don't like. You said Logano. You said Chase Elliott. Do you have anybody else you don't like?
Yeah, those are 2 guys that have pretty good prices on them that I'm not going to play. I'll tell you who I do like. I think we talk about it a lot in gambling, Scott. It's the gambler's fallacy, but this guy, he's due. It's Ryan Blaney finished second this race, including last year. He just lost by inches in a real nice finish to Hamlin. He led the most laps in 2018. Got it caught up in a late race problem there, but he's got 2 wins also at Talladega. This team knows how to run restrictor plate races. At 12-1, I think he's a good price. I'll take Ryan Blaney plus 1,200.
Well, I got some bad news for you because It's going to be a pretty short video. I got Ryan Blaney as well, 12-1. He's my second option there at FanDuel. You kind of went through how well he's done here in the past. He's starting 14th this year, which is pretty decent starting position, even though we talk about starting position might not matter on this track as much as others. If you want to look at other factors, though, he came in second last year here after starting 27th. So starting position was pretty poor last year, and it didn't matter. He came in second. Average finish of 13.95, which is also really top tier in comparison to the rest of the field. Blaney, if you've actually watched him race over the last, I'd say, year or so, he seemed to really just kick it into another gear at some point in the middle of last season, where he was what I thought he was, which was a mediocre driver who occasionally would make a top 10 or 2. And then at some point, he just flipped the switch. His team was just tinkering with the car, and he turned into a serious contender from the Ford side. And I just think that Blaney's skill set suits this track really well. The issue you have with Blaney is that occasionally he does get a bit reckless late in races where he might go for broke a little bit too much and you might see him crash. But I definitely expect him to be in the top 5 going through the last, I'd say, quarter of the laps, at least in the final stage. He definitely should be in the top 5.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think that's a.
Of course, you don't hate it. We have the same person.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. All right, give me your first long shot.
So my long shot here. Truth is, there were a couple of people who I was tempted by, who I decided not to. I could have went with a past winner, somebody like a Kurt Busch at 20-1, somebody like that. But I decided to go with another past winner who had a lot of expectations when he came into the organization. He's been a little bit quiet, but he did actually win a race last year. It's going to be Austin Dillon. And Austin Dillon, if you actually look at his numbers, has been pretty solid here. I know he has a very good starting position, starting 4th. But going through some of his recent results, as well as his results on here, he actually won the second duel, which took place on February 11th. Now, I know that the duels, of course, is only 60 laps, so that's not really a good comparison, but it does show that he has been, I'd say, working with this car, and it seems like there was a pretty decent chemistry there because he actually won something over the past week. But he did win this race in 2018, which a lot of people forgot about. Dillon seems to always do well in these restrictor plate races, and I think you should see Dillon, worst case scenario, being in the top 10, I'd say, going into the final stage. Now, is there a chance that he falls apart? Yes, that has happened to him a couple of times in Daytona. Is he always impervious to the wreck? No. He also occasionally will get spun up. But at 28-1 on Fox Bet, getting a former winner who has looked really good lately, and who also has looked pretty solid in these restrictor plate races over the past couple of years. So for that reason, I think Austin Dillon at 28-1 is a pretty solid price. That's going to be my long shot.
Okay. Scott, I'm going to kind of throw an audible or call an audible. I've got a mid-range long shot, and then I've got a long shot that I'm going to take. But so my mid-range long shot, I'm looking at the guy that has pretty much been generating the most buzz over the weekend or over the week at Daytona, and that's Bubba Wallace, buddy, driving for the new Michael Jordan Denny Hamlin team, the 23XI Racing, driving car number 23. So there you go. He's got the pressure off. He's going to be he's entered in every race this season, and it seems like this is the first time that he's really had good equipment. He had the fastest time in practice, posted the 4th fastest time in qualifying, and then was edged out by the aforementioned Austin Dillon in the second of the duels the other night, in a really, really good finish. If you can find that on the YouTubes or whatever, that's a great finish. Bubba put a really nice move on him, and then he was able to get to the inside and get the win. It had just a little bit more car than Bubba did, but at 18-1, you know what? Why not? Give me the Cinderella story. He runs well at the super speedways. He's got a couple top 5s there. Why not? Give me Bubba Wallace, the feel good story of the year.
And just to ask, what number did you say you had there?
18-1.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I found it available on a different site. I found it available on Fox Bet. And now let me try to see if I can find an even better number than that. Yeah, I found him on Fox Bet at 25-1.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up.
So there you go.
Excellent.
So once again, remember, especially with these outright shop your lines, you can find an extra plus 700 lying around.
Golf, NASCAR, both of those are huge for disparities in lines. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you get down to the mid-range to long shots. You can definitely price yourself into a much better bet. You got anybody else you're taking a look at since I kind of threw the curveball here?
Well, truth is, no, not really. I kind of just like those 3. I think Dillon's a pretty good wild card if you want to spend your money on a 28-1. I think there's better ways. I think that worse ways to spend your money. I think that Dillon, I think you'd agree with after you just mentioned that he just won the duel that he barely beat out Bubba Wallace for. I just think that both of those drivers should have a decent shot. I'm still not exactly sure about Bubba Wallace yet with the new team and everything along those lines.
Sure.
Probably going to want to wait it out maybe a couple weeks to see if everything's in order chemistry-wise. I don't really know. Who else is on his team, by the way?
That's it. One-man team.
That's what I'm saying. So how's it going to work when it comes to drafting and all this other stuff?
No, you'll draft with you'll draft with other Toyotas. You get hooked up, man. That's the way it works.
Get hooked up, but I'm saying late in races, at some point you have to start wondering if flying solo out there might cause it to be left out to dry.
Yeah, he's not going to have that other, RCR car, bumping him to the front, or that's
that was the main reason why I had a little bit of hesitation when it came to Wallace, because everyone knows that, especially on these restarts where you get a crazy caution with like 3 laps to go or something, it's really all about the push on the restart.
Well, I'll tell you who could give him a push. It's the guy that owns his car, Denny Hamlin.
That is true.
I would imagine that Denny Hamlin will kind of be rooting for Bubba as well.
I got a hunch that Denny Hamlin's going to be too busy trying to win.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But, I mean, if he gets in the situation where on a restart, they stack up.
I think Wallace is going to push him.
That's certainly possible, too. But he does have a friend in the diamond business there, buddy. He does have Denny Hamlin available.
Definitely true, but I'm just saying I feel like you definitely have an advantage when you look at an overall team.
No question.
In comparison to just one guy flying solo.
Right. So, and I told you this before the show. I'm not going to take him. It's you could do worse than to throw your money at, but you're either going to be really happy with this pick or really not. But it's Ricky Stenhouse, and I only wanted to mention him because I found his nickname, and I've never seen it before. It's Recky Spinhouse.
It's really a perfect nickname.
It's a fantastic name. I'm sure all the NASCAR people really know that name. I'm not. I'm a casual NASCAR fan. I like it, but I'm not enough of a geek to know that name. So
it's a perfect nickname for him. He was a perfect boyfriend for Danica Patrick. They used to wreck all the time together. It was really just a great combination there.
What do you want to do this Sunday? Oh, let's go wreck some guys out. Okay, cool.
Sounds like a dream. It's really kind of funny when you realize that like Danica and him were together at some point, and both of them were just the main wreckers on the entire circuit.
Right.
At the same time. I just find that amusing to me.
I looked at Chris Buescher. You could do that. You do better than that at 50-1, but the guy settled on for my really long shot. Talk about a feel-good story, Scott. It's Ryan Newman at 40-1, plus 4,000.
Okay. All right.
What could be a better story than the guy that almost died a year ago in this race, picking up and winning the Daytona 500? And of course, what everybody forgets, they remember that race, but at the time that he got hit,
he was doing okay.
Dude, he was leading the race with about 300 feet to go.
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing better than okay. He had it won, basically.
For the record, by the way, I found it at 50-1 on Bet Online.
50-1 for Newman?
That is what I see on Bet Online.
Beautiful. I will. I think that's worth a play. It's there's a lot of things that have changed, obviously, but he doesn't remember anything about the wreck. It's people wonder if he's gonna have a mental block, and supposedly he doesn't even remember anything until he got home from the hospital. So, I think he's going to be out there. I think he's going to be gunning for it. Do I think he win? No, probably not. But it's certainly worth a half unit, quarter unit at 50-1. So
yeah, that makes sense, especially considering the fact that he has a ton of experience here. So
right.
It definitely always pays off.
Yep. So since I'm weak on props, I went long on racers. So I know you want to get to your manufacturer's props, Scott. So go ahead, bud.
Well, that's my favorite. Of course, I'm always the guy who's betting on top Ford, top Chevy, all this other stuff. So to go through the line here, I'll start out with the Fords. I'm doubling down on Blaney. He's available on DraftKings to be top Ford at plus 550. That is just a phenomenal price for a guy who I think has a great shot to win the race. Even if he doesn't, if Hamlin, let's just say, three-peats, if Blaney finishes top 3, you're still probably golden to cash a 5.5-1, which I can't really argue with because Blaney on this track has been really good in the past. Now, this guy I'm going to also put him with is, I'd say, a little bit inconsistent on this track. I think you know who I'm going to go with here for the other top Ford. I'm going to put a little sprinkle on Kevin Harvick at 6-1. I know that he's struggled a little bit in the past, mostly because of accidents. He has gotten involved in a couple wrecks over the years. It's kind of interesting because Harvick used to be really good here, and then he switched to Ford, and he's been terrible on this track ever since, which I find pretty fascinating.
Right.
But it's very tough to not take a 6-1 shot with probably either the best or the second best driver on the circuit. It's really tough because Harvick's always up there in pretty much every race barring a wreck, where you look up and go, oh, of course Harvick's in 5th with 40 laps to go. That sounds about right every single time. 6-1, every other race moving forward, Harvick will probably be around 4-1, 3-1, something like that. So I think it's worth a sprinkle if you want to take Harvick at 6-1 to be top Ford. Other than that, though, Well, first of all, you have any thoughts on that? I know Harvick's not great here, but it's really tough to pass up on 6-1.
He's such a good driver. It's hard to, yeah, I agree. I think that's a good price. I think you're doing okay there.
Do you think Harvick's the best driver on tour or on circuit? I know he didn't win last year. I know it was Chase Elliott, but I think you got to agree that Harvick is always a threat to win any race. I think he's probably top 3.
Yeah, I think it's him, Harvick. I think it's him, Hamlin, and Elliott.
Yeah.
I think you can sort those out however you want. But Harvick and Hamlin were just absolutely dominant for most.
They're so consistent. That's the main thing.
The season, and that's what's hard to do in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm putting 1 and 1A with Hamlin right now.
I would put Elliott at 3 because I think he's a little bit too inconsistent.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna come with time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at some of the groups, Scott, and I've got Group C, a guy we haven't talked about here. It's got Amarola, Bowman, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Larson. I'm gonna take a spin
about Larson. Yeah, Larson's back.
He's back. I'm gonna take a spin on Larson in that group at plus 230.
Well, I think people forgot that with all the controversy surrounding him, he was also a pretty good driver.
That was a good driver having a good season. So I like him there. In Group E with Dylan Di Benedetto, Christopher Bell, I like Chris Buescher. I talked about him earlier. Buescher is a guy that pretty
What's
much.
The price on that?
The price on Buescher is plus 350.
Okay.
He's got 2 top 5 finishes in the past 3 Daytona 500s. Only 2 other drivers have done that, and that is Hamlin and Logano. He's a patient driver. He did a nice job. He finished 3rd in the Daytona last year, finished 9th in the Coke. I think that's a decent price in kind of a weak group there. I'll take Chris Buescher to beat out Group E.
Yeah, makes sense. But anyway, moving on with my manufacturer props. I already mentioned the Fords. I was going to originally consider giving out Elliott as top Chevy at around plus 450. Same principle as Harvick, even if he's not good here. Plus 450 for a top 3 driver is really just a pretty insane price. But I decided not to do it. I really just think Elliott's going to have some problems. He seems to always find a wreck here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't finish the race. I think he'll probably finish in the high teens, maybe low 20s, something like that. But one guy I am looking at who is also kind of dangerous to always get into a wreck to be top Chevy, but I think the price is too good. It's going to be Will Byron, who is plus 650 to finish top Chevy on DraftKings. If you want to actually go through Byron's numbers, he has been really good here. I know he won the Coca-Cola, ended up finishing 1st last year. Year before that, Coca-Cola once again came in 2nd. I know his Daytona results aren't that great, which is a bit concerning, but he's got a great starting position. Of course, anytime you start 2nd or runner-up to the pole, I think that's a pretty good spot to start at. And Byron, if he can avoid the wreck, which is a huge concern, I think he should be in the thick of things. So for that reason, I'll take a sprinkle on Byron at plus 650 because I think that line should be closer to around 5-1, maybe 4.5-1.
Okay.
You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't hate that. I like it better than Elliott, obviously, at 450. I'm looking at coming out of that Chevy group.
If you toss Elliott out, I think it's really a crapshoot. So I think you definitely have some shots there, and I think that Byron could give you a decent run.
Yeah, I would. I'd also look at Austin Dillon at 10-1 and Kyle Larson at 7-1 in that one as well.
I thought about Dillon, but I didn't want to double down because I feel like if I'm going for the long shot, I'm kind of just going for broke anyway. So that was kind of my logic there.
I get that.
And then my other 2, it's going to be on top Toyotas, and I'm going to be doubling down here. I like Hamlin to be top Toyota, and I like Kyle Busch to be top Toyota. So I'm basically going to try to monopolize the field. You look at who Toyota has, really small field, only 5 cars. Besides Hamlin and Busch, you got Truex Jr., you got Bubba Wallace, and you got Christopher Bell. Now, Bell, I'll toss out. I think Bell could be a good driver in a couple of years. I think it's still too early for him. I think he's probably going to have to struggle a bit longer before he ends up making a potential leap. I don't see that happening. Truex Jr. has struggled on this track in the past. Not exactly the greatest speedway driver. I like Truex Jr. a lot as an overall driver, but this just isn't one of his stronger tracks, or just I think you'd agree with that with the restrictor plates. It's just not his specialty. And
No.
yeah.
Christopher Bell, he did qualify fifth.
Mhm.
So again, it doesn't. Again, this doesn't really matter as far as the track goes. But
I just think he'll get beaten out as the race progresses. I think he might start off well. You talked about, I know a couple days ago when we previewed we were going to be doing the show, that some drivers or some teams will basically say we got no shot to win, but we'll try to win the pole or we'll try to get a good starting spot. I
right.
think Bell's going for the good starting spot. I think he still was obviously trying to win. I just don't think he has the capabilities to do so. You look at Bubba Wallace, I can't get over the fact that he's basically by himself out there. I think you're going to need a team, one of those late starts, to actually give you a push. I agree that Hamlin is not exactly teammates, but he's definitely not trying to wreck the car as well. You kind of have a middle ground there.
Right.
So they potentially can work something out, but at the end of the day, Kyle Busch actually won something. Good for him. We were making jokes about that all season last year. Hamlin's the master of this course or this track. So for that reason, I think taking Hamlin and Busch, you get 40% of the Toyotas. I think you're pretty much good to go there. So for me, I'll take Hamlin to be top Toyota at plus 165, I believe, which I think was the number. And I also like Busch to be top Toyota at plus 260.
All right, very good.
I mean, you like Bubba Wallace, so you kind of.
I'm not as, and I'm also not as down on Christopher Bell as you are. He's got good equipment. He drives the old 20 car, that old Tony Stewart car for Joe Gibbs. He's got a great team around him. We'll just have to see if the skills catch up, because he's got everything else in place. He's got the team. He's got the equipment.
But I'm sorry. Yeah, he does drive this one.
Yeah, he's just starting to get some experience under his belt. So I don't hate that, guaranteeing a 2/3 of a unit profit, pretty much.
I'm not saying that Bell's a bad driver. I'm just saying I think that even if Wallace maybe makes a run, which I'll believe it when I see it, because he has also kind of underachieved up to this point. I know his equipment wasn't that great, but we'll see how it goes. It's pretty tough to find better overall drivers than Hamlin and Kyle Busch. I know both of us don't like Kyle Busch, but he gets results, and I can't really argue with that.
You're right. Okay.
But anyway, those are my props.
All right, very good. All right, guys, short and sweet, like just the way we like them. Anything else stand out to you before we go?
Really no. Just looking through everything, really not much to say. It is worth keeping in mind that you threw me off a little bit when you said Christian Bell in the 20 car, because I remember that being Eric Jones. Eric Jones moved to the 43. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, you might have had some cars or some people you rooted for who switched cars.
It's the silly season. They switch teams as well. I believe the 43 is still the old Petty car.
Yes, I believe it is.
I don't think anybody else will ever drive the 43 unless you're driving it for Petty. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
And you got guys like that are moving up, moving down a little bit. Christopher Bell moving up to Gibbs, and Eric Jones moving down half a step, 3/4 of a step down to Petty Racing from Joe Gibbs. So
yeah, and you got a couple people who you've never heard of course. You have Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah.
Didn't know he was a person, but good for him. You got Kaz Gralla, who is in the Biffle car, which is, I'm sure he'll definitely not finish in the bottom 5. You have Cody Ware, sure. You got a lot of cars who probably are going to be out of the race in about 2 laps.
Well, and you've got some guys that were are good in the Xfinity series, or the what's the Busch series?
Oh, it's the Xfinity.
Oh, it was okay.
I mean, you have a couple from last year who actually had showed signs. I think Reddick's going to be a good driver.
Quinn Hoff was very good. Cody Ware was very good. You got Derek Cope in this race, which I think he won it in '96. That's pretty amazing that he's going to race again here.
I don't think he's going to win.
I don't think he's going to win. No, I don't think so either. So, all right. So, guys, we really want to hear from you in the comment section. Even if you don't usually leave a comment, let us know if this is worth doing, if you like the NASCAR stuff. We're just kind of trying to gauge our audience and see if we've got some viewers. So if it is, we'll keep doing it for the rest of the year. If not, we'll just kind of watch the races and enjoy. So let us know what you're thinking. Give us a thumbs up, obviously, if you're digging it and don't want to comment. Or even if you do comment, give us a thumbs up. So with that being said, we wish you nothing but luck on not only the race, but all your bets this weekend. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwiners.com, your NASCAR home. We appreciate you watching today. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.